How's it going, everybody? This is Rob Novakast back with another video for you guys, and this time we'll be doing a quick review, or at least try to make it as quick as possible, talking about each point anyway. But The Cave. This movie came out around, I believe, 2005. It was directed by Bruce Hunt, written by Michael Strenberg and Tegan West, starring Piper Burabo, Morris Chestnut, Cole Hoser, and many others. The movie itself was really intriguing, especially with the usual tagline, from hell, from heaven to earth to hell, there is the cave, or something like that, or past heaven there is earth, past earth there is hell, and past hell is the cave, or something like that. I believe that was the tagline, usually when you saw the posters. And I will say it's an intriguing film, but does not kind of interest me in certain points. And I think, if anything, especially when it comes to a horror film, I would say just watch it once. But we'll get into why I believe that. And by the way, just so everybody knows, this is all opinion based, so please don't go at me. If you like this movie, then okay, you like the film, but at the same time, this is just my opinion on it personally, and for somebody who is a moviegoer as well as somebody who is very delved into horror, there's some certain aspects that I see that kind of concern me, or if anything, I get bored of. So with that being said, why don't we go ahead and get right into it. So, I guess to start us off, I'm going to give a quick synopsis of the story. Lately with my reviews, I've been doing kind of like a, step-by-step of what happens, kind of giving spoilers. But for this one, again, I would ask you guys to watch it first and give you guys you guys can have your own opinions on it. But I guess to talk about it briefly, you have a group of scientists that uncover a new cave system that has never been explored, and they enlist the help of cave divers to help explore and research this new cave system. Upon arriving, things start going horribly wrong when some of the cave divers and some of the staff start going missing or being killed off one by one, and they uncover that this cave system might harbor a dark secret, something that, if possibly getting out in the public, could cause devastation. And that's basically the whole story, as well as them trying to find a way to escape this said cave system. All in all, I think above all, the story with them trying to escape is really cool. Now, I will admit, to a certain degree, like when it reaches to the climax of the film, it kind of goes by way too fast, or at least that's how it felt. As far as, them escaping and then the aftermath of it. But all in all, I will say, when it comes to the ending itself, it was expected. When it comes down to the initial plot twist of the ending, it's expected of what happens, especially with some of the things that are discussed in the film, as well as the quote-unquote dark secret, and the I guess, if anything, what is inside the cave that causes all the issues. Above all, again, my main focus, I think the thing that really drew me in was the fact that, this whole story of the cave and them trying to get out of it. All in all, it was cool. I really enjoyed it. However, I will admit, knowing this being a horror movie and more likely, being somewhere involving a deep dark place with monsters, I knew, I was already predicting that there was going to be characters that were going to be killed off. So, unfortunately, to some aspect, there were some things I saw coming watching this film, and it just, to an extent, was disappointing, to say the least. But then again, I've seen too many horror movies at this point, so it might be because I'm a little bit jaded by, you know, some of the stuff that goes on in horror films, you know, going forward. But all in all, story itself was intriguing, but did have its faults. Okay, I might get hate for this because this is gonna be an interesting one. Okay, so would anybody hold it against me? I mean, again, this is all opinion based, but would anybody hold it against me if I didn't care about the characters in this one? Like, no joke. I look at, especially again with a lot of horror films at this point, and especially with monsters, no less. I'm more of, okay, which characters are going to die first, and just kind of like, okay, let's see what the buffet of dead people that we're going to see for this particular film. That is basically my thought process when watching this film, is which people are going to die, which people are going to live, which people are going to make stupid decisions that end up getting them killed, and so on and so on. And sure enough, like almost note for note, every single one of these characters, or the characters that do something stupid, or if anything, like characters who are old or decrepit, end up dying. Like every single one of them. Now, unfortunately, and it's funny because they have one character who is played by, I can't remember the actor. I think it was Cole Holser. He starts going crazy near the middle of the film, and I don't want to go into too much detail as to why, but to an extent, like, as they go through the movie, he's the one that's always right. And everybody is like, no, he's crazy, don't follow his role. And again, every single person fucking dies. So it's like, at that point, listen to the crazy guy, and actually, you know, you would have had a better chance to live. But sure enough, nope, that doesn't happen. So above all, and not only that, but a lot of the characters just, besides the fact that they you know, they're good friends and they're cave divers, a lot of them just don't seem interesting at all. If anything, they just felt bland and one note. Again, because, you know, what do we know about them? Again, oh, they're cave divers, and oh, we're friends. That's about it. I mean, they did mention that, though, one of the guys, who, by the way, gets killed, like one of the first people that get killed, they mentioned how this person was ex-military or something. So, like, that's it. Like, we only get a couple of notes on certain characters' backstories, but other than that, they're just all one note. And it's just boring. The characters were boring to me. And at that, between the boredom as well as, you know, realizing, oh, yeah, like, some of these people have, like, the same chances of living compared to, you know, one another, I just didn't care for the characters at all. I know that sounds terrible, but at the same time, these characters were not fun at all. They were bland, boring, and I could have cared less because they were going to die either way. Now, for effects, I don't think there's not much to talk about. I will say that, especially for the quote-unquote monsters that we see, I don't want to go into too much detail, but I want to say they use a range between practical and CGI. Now, for those who don't know what CGI is, or, I mean, obviously know what CGI is, you know, computer generated, but I'm talking about practical. For those who don't know what practical effects are, or who want to get into film, are basically effects, like actual, like, let's say puppets, or if anything, people in costumes, like, that are done really well, for that kind of added effect of realism for the film. All in all, it's, I mean, when it comes down to the creatures, I don't want to go into too much, but they look really impressive. And some of the CGI also looks impressive as well, to some degree. And it seems like they try to limit that as much as possible for CGI, which I gotta give them props for. Because nowadays, a lot of films will just mostly use CGI. Or at least use CGI. I mean, at this point, if anything, use CGI as touch-up work. Or trying to de-age somebody. But either way, it's really cool. And I will say that CGI is probably one of, or at least the effects, are probably some of the best aspects to it. Especially with some of the cosmetic stuff that they do with some of the characters. But all in all, I like the effects in this. It was good. So there is, talking about music, by the way, there is not much in the vein of music. There is a particular song, or at least score, that they use for certain segments. But I think, if anything, it really ramps up towards the final act, by which I will say some of the more, like, whenever there's more intense moments with a film, they really kind of ramp up the score when it comes down to, like, the music that they use for the film. And I will say, when it starts getting dramatic, or at least it starts getting more tense, then it actually becomes really good. I will say the very mellow score that they use periodically is really good, and kind of really adds to some extent, adds to the drama that is going on for some of the more quieter moments. But at the same time, or at least, I guess, if anything, the more in-between moments. But at the same time, I think my main drive was what we get to see or hear in the end. So, final thoughts. There's not much really to talk about for final thoughts. And I think a lot of people will think that I'm being very negative. The story, although intriguing, was at times predictable, especially when it comes down to deaths. Characters were bland, not very fun, and just very one note. And again, predictable when it comes down to, the death toll. Effects, I will say, is probably the best aspect of this movie, using both, again, CGI and practical. And music, although repeatedly using the same score for some of the more mellow or in-between moments, really ramps up for the last bit of the movie. And by the way, also for story, it just ends too quickly for me, or at least for my taste. So, all in all, I want to say that this movie it kind of borderlines towards kind of average, but to me, especially when it comes to story as well as characters, that it takes a huge hit for those. So, my final rating for this, and again, if you like it, you like it, but this is just my personal opinion. This movie does not intrigue me, especially with some of the more important points. So, with that, final rating for The Cave from 2015 or 2005 is a solid 4 out of 10. It's a little bit below average, but above all, there are certain things that I will say I did like about this movie. So again, some aspects with the story, as well as, I guess, if anything, talking about it more exclusively, for certain aspects of the story, what drives the story, as well as, in this case, the effects. So, 4 out of 10, my final rating of this movie. Again, below average, but at the same time, that's just my opinion. And I think, if anything, that's about it. And with that, that was my review for The Cave. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Again, you guys may disagree. If you guys like the movie, you may disagree with me. If you have anything you'd like to add, leave in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. But, again, this is just all my personal opinion on the film. And, unfortunately, again, it didn't hold up. But Again, if you guys like the video, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media, links are in the description down below, as well as check out our daily content and our weekly streams. With that being said, this is Rob Novakast signing off. Have a good one, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.